Welcome to Outcomes, the healthcare and biopharma marketing podcast, where marketing leaders discuss the most effective strategies for the health sectors, coming from a digital-first, AI-powered perspective. All right, welcome to our next episode of the Outcomes podcast. Today, we're going to talk about AI. The title of our episode here is Navigating the AI Revolution, Practical Insights for Healthcare and Biopharma Marketers. And I have with me here Brett Cohen, who is my co-founder, our CEO at emagineHealth. We've been at this business for, I don't even want to count at this point, 25 plus years or something like that. And specifically, what we're here to talk about today is artificial intelligence, and especially as that pertains to the kind of AI that's really developed and accelerated since around the very end of November 2022 when ChatGPT went live. And I think, we really started to feel it come into our lives more a little bit into 2023. And then it's just been, AI has basically been everything that everyone has talked about since then. And so Brett specifically, he really jumped into it. He loves technology, and just decided to learn everything that he could very quickly. So he's been digesting every podcast, blog, YouTube series, organizations. Just last week, he was at the Marketing AI Institute's big conference. So that's why we're here. We're gonna talk about a lot of the observations that we've both had, where we see this going, where we see real pragmatic applications of it today, and where we, nobody really knows, but where we could see it headed in the near future, at least. So, just to start, Brett, just kind of share like a general overview back when this started to explode early this year, and, why it interested you so much at that time.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of really when, obviously when ChatGPT came out in November, I wasn't really on the lookout for AI like some other people, that have been watching this industry for years. The guys that started the Marketing AI conference, like they started 7 years ago, and nobody had any interest. I was talking to the founder Paul on a bus ride back from an event, and he was saying that he saw what it was going to be 7 years ago, and he just jumped in. He sold his business. He had an agency like us. He sold it and just went all in, but nobody was interested. Even the last event, in-person event they had, obviously over the last few years, some of these events, they didn't have it because of COVID. But the last in-person, I think he told me they had 200 or 300 people, and this year they had 700 plus people. Wow. And they're already anticipating about 1,500 people next year. Wow. So obviously, along with everybody else, I became aware of AI and ChatGPT probably at the end of the year, I would say. And when I first kind of used it, I was just kind of blown away. And obviously, like you said earlier in the opening, we've been doing this for 25 years and plus, and I'm definitely more on the technical side, although I'm not a developer. But I played with a lot of the technology over the years, from the beginning. You know that. Yep. And I just started kind of testing it like everybody else. Help me write a blog post, help me reformat this email that I was going to write, give me some ideas about something I was looking at the time. And I was just amazed, and I kind of felt right away that this was going to be a game changer, similar to when I did my first website at the end of 1995 and, really saw the potential and said everybody's going to need a website, or every business is going to need a website, and was faced with people telling me, what do I need a website for? All my customers know me. So that's kind of what I thought of at the time, is that this is like the next huge thing. So, and, quite frankly, I was really concerned on how it would impact our business, because I could see it right away that there was going to be a lot of things that were going to change. We haven't really seen it yet as we've been testing, but we know it's coming, or at least I know it's coming. So I kind of jumped in with everything. Started to, like you said, watch and learn and test and play with a bunch of different tools. And honestly, it's reinvigorated me. I've been, like you said, we've been doing this for a long time, and I was, kind of in my mind had one foot on the beach and ready to kind of move on into the next phase of my life. And then this came out, and I was just amazed. So that's really the beginning of it. And, I've leveraged it in a variety of different ways, obviously well beyond kind of what I call the low-hanging fruit, which is help me write some content or give me some ideas. I've tested in a variety of ways, and I still test it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and we'll get to some of the specific applications. I mean, I think we've both talked to a lot of people, some together. We've talked to clients, we've talked to some prospects, we've talked to friends, we talked to our own team here. So it's like, you get a lot of different perspectives, a lot of different feelings on where this is going. You still have a lot of people, I think, in denial. Oh, that's not going to change my life. We still need the human touch. Which no one's denying. This is not going to replace humans. We all know that. But some people, just a reluctancy to embrace it. And I think that, a lot of that is it's two things. It's fear, and it's just lack of knowledge about what it even means, and including myself. I mean, I'm not a true technology guy, so I know some, but I don't know the intricacies of it all. So, share a little bit of your observations from some of the people we've talked to, some of your own friends and colleagues outside of Emagine, and just the general kind of, tone that you're feeling from people about it all.
Yeah, I think at this point, because it's been in the news so much, on a daily basis, and I've talked to teachers that are concerned how it's going to affect education. I've talked to other agency owners that are, concerned how it's going to affect their business, like we are. We've talked to clients, and we've talked to potential clients. And I think a lot of people are, kind of where you are, where you've played with it a lot, to help with content and ideation. But I really don't think the mainstream people really understand how to leverage even the basic stuff to really give them an advantage. Because even with just Chat GPT or Bard from Google, really what it does is and I say it a bunch of different ways, but makes you have superpowers. We're born with 2 hands. It gives you 6. It just allows you to take whatever skills you have and really give you superpowers. And I know that, sounds simplistic, but it's true. I've been able to do things that I may have been able to do in the past with some help from people on our team that are developers. But I'm doing it all on my own, and I'm just, and I'm trying to leverage this on a daily basis with everything I do as a CEO of a company, not specifically in delivering a solution for a client, but solutions for myself. And it's really helped, and I turn to it as much as I can. So if you're asking where do I think it's going, I obviously think it's going to continue to grow. I think it's going to really provide the ability to increase productivity for everybody. I can't even think of one, job, where you can't use AI. Maybe in the trades,
Yeah.
if you're an electrician or a plumber, you're not going to, use AI to wire a house. But I think if you're a knowledge worker, I think if you're not leveraging AI, you're going to be at a huge disadvantage. And, as far as, needing somebody else or needing help, I think there's always going to need to be, a pilot that can land the plane. Like none of these tools are going to do something completely for you. Even the ones that are, the AIs that are strung together that, kind of came out a few months ago where you could programmatically tell it to do a bunch of things like go, I'm going on a vacation to Italy and go book my flight and go get me a rental car and book a hotel. Like that will happen, but it's not there yet. You still need somebody in between. So, and I think it's going to, open up opportunities that may not exist right now, that will exist in the future, in the near future.
Yeah. I can say, I mean, it's ChatGPT is open on my computer all day, and that's not to generate content. I don't generate a lot of content, but it's basically an assistant for me. I just turn to it to help me outline or draft anything I'm doing. That's from a video script to um to like certain things that clients may need help with us helping them outline to plan a project. We named a company recently, and I learned through it. Once again, it didn't do the job for me. But it certainly gave me like 10,000 words for me to then put together in ways that were creative and would work at. Sure, I could go to, thesaurus.com or something, but it was just different. The level and speed and amount of things that it can give you, it's just incredible. So, it literally, like you said, there's practically nothing that we can't do with it. And I'm just talking about ChatGPT. I mean, I also use Midjourney and to create images. That's kind of fun and a unique tool for branding, but there's just a whole slew, and a lot more than me and a lot more than most people in terms of the various tools and applications, the way that we can use that. And I want to talk a little bit about that. We're going to gradually go through practically our whole agency and talk about the ways that AI is being leveraged through each of our competencies. But with you specifically, you aren't one of the people here that delivers any of those competencies directly, but you're still using it. For instance, I mean, you can talk about anything you want, but one of the things you've worked on here is our own marketing and our own email sequences and data enrichment. And so talk a little bit about some of the stuff you did there.
Yeah, I think one of the other things that I jumped in at the end of the year, beginning of this year, internally was to try to help with our own internal lead gen, and I learned a lot about uh, how to be effective, and a lot of it comes down to personalization and digging much deeper than just getting a list from Zoom Info or HubSpot or Apollo or wherever, and then just kind of sending these generic email messages or LinkedIn messages or voicemails, in that we needed to get a lot more personalized and personal with the people that we're trying to reach. And I think in the past it was difficult to do that for a variety of reasons, either technical limitations or you couldn't, it was too time consuming to try to, go through a list of, 500 names and look at each one and look at each one's website, or do a variety of different types of research to try to find something that could stand out in your messaging. So, while I didn't initially use Chat GPT to get the information, where I really leveraged Chat GPT initially, and this is probably around January, was I had it help me write Python scripts that allowed me to kind of go out and scrape some websites, or different sources of data to help me enrich our own data. And I'm not a developer, and I don't think I ever touched Python, or maybe I touched it a long time ago. And because I had, like you said, Chat GPT as an assistant, anytime I got stuck, I would just ask Chat GPT for the answer or ask it for help. And it wasn't just cut and dry. It didn't do it for me. I would have to explain it. I'd have to prompt write. I'd have to test. But every time I got stuck, it would help me through the process, and I was able to do specific things. Like I was able to run a list and see if the companies on our list were doing Google ads or doing LinkedIn ads. Right. We did one enrichment where we were able to figure out if any of the pharma companies in our list had FDA approved drugs. And, I was able to search a database, an online database, and bring back the results and save them into our own internal database so we could market later. It's just so many different ways that I've used it. It's helped me do all sorts of integrations with custom APIs, leveraging Zapier and Make, things that I probably could have done before that just taken me way longer. It was able to cut the time in, by 90%.
And to just be a little specific, when you say you're doing these things, you're using other tools in conjunction, right? Because if you take typical person again, who might be like me, where I have I'm used to the Chat GPT prompt, I have the paid package GPT-4, but I'm not using other tools. You're not just doing these things you just named at the OpenAI ChatGPT website, correct?
No, I'm not. No, I'm doing it in other places. I'm writing Python scripts in a program, Visual Studio Code, Yep. But when I get stuck, because I'm not a developer, when I get stuck, I'm turning, where this was my process before. If I was working in PHP or whatever, or in MySQL or any of the technologies, when I got stuck, I would use Slack and ask somebody on our team who knew more about that than I did. And we would have to work back and forth. And sometimes they're busy and they don't get back to me right away. So now I'm just going to ChatGPT and asking for the answer and getting it. But I'm using all sorts of different tools to do this. I'm using some browser extensions. I'm using Apollo, which is really good. I'm using Clay, which is another really good tool that has a lot of AI integrations built in. I'm using extensions in Google Sheets for ChatGPT, using Jasper, using Writer.
Yep.
I've tested, I think I have probably 10 or 15 subscriptions to all these different services, Pinecone and so many different ones. I actually need to go through and cancel some of them.
Well, I think this is going to be one of the biggest challenges. I mean, there's not a day that goes by that my LinkedIn doesn't have about 10 infographics that I see in my feed that each show 50 AI or chat GPT tools that should be used for this and that and everything else. And, I think most people are going to have a hard time just figuring out, okay, which ones do I actually need? Like, for instance, you're doing a lot more technical things. For me, if anything, I'm over on the content side of things. So we, meaning myself and Shannon, our marketing manager, we're looking at a couple you just mentioned between Jasper and Writer and some others to determine, what are the various tools that we can leverage AI, run them through a few tools to help with grammar, to change tone a bit, all those things. So, I mean, we're experimenting with those. I mentioned Midjourney, which is for image creation, but it's endless, and I think it's overwhelming. And even that's going to be an area that I think we can help our clients with, in terms of even just figuring out which ones matter. But any major takeaways from the Marketing AI conference? I know you and I were going back and forth, and we have, I think one of big knowns for our business, at least, is where search is going to go. None of us know. So that's a hot topic. Obviously, content, that's an ongoing thing. And, but any other major takeaways that you didn't have going into that conference?
I don't know if there's any major takeaways that I didn't have. I think some of my takeaways were reinforcement for kind of what I already thought I knew or thought was going to happen. I would say that what's happening now, like you brought up about all the different platforms, and I saw a graphic too that just had so many. It's a gold rush right now.
Yeah.
And picture yourself on the way to go mine gold, and on the way you're getting, everybody has the best shovel and everybody has the best sifter, and everybody's trying to sell you the best tools to get to the gold. And I think that's kind of what's happening right now, is that there's a rush, to capture market share, to capture the gold. And I think that there really aren't any clear winners at the moment. I think, I argue that, the big players will be the big winners when it's all said and done. Google, Microsoft was a first mover on this for the first time in a while. They were first out of the gate, obviously, because they're, tightly partnered with OpenAI. So I think the big players are going to be the ones that dominate at the end, or not at the end, but in the future. I think, the advice, and you've been on some of these calls, that I think we've given to people is, a couple of things. Number one, don't spend a ton of money on anything. Number two, don't enter into any long-term contracts. Like, even if you're going to do something like a monthly subscription, make sure it's monthly and don't buy annual subscriptions, because I've seen it ourselves. I started working internally to develop some chat bots that we could put on
Mm-hmm.
clients' websites that was all going to be custom. And then, a month later, people are doing it and you can buy it for $6 a month. So, even internally, we're trying, not to spend a ton of money, and we want to test a lot of different things. So I think that, the key takeaways are that the AI that we're using right now, all of us collectively, is probably the least capable AI that we'll ever use. It's only going to get better, even though there are a lot of people complaining that Chat GPT-4 is getting worse.
Right.
Um, I think now everybody is a developer, even if you're not a developer. I think you can leverage skills, and even if it's as simple as writing formulas in Excel or Google Sheets, or something that you're using on a daily basis, helping you work in that tool better, even if it's Word, how to format, how to do certain things. I think that there's going to be a huge influx of content. I think I saw one report that said, between 2020 and 2022, content online had increased like twofold. And now they're saying that between 2023 and 2025, it's going to increase 20-fold, because of these tools are allowing people to create a lot of content. And with rapid development of content, is obviously there's going to be a lot of bad content and a lot of useless content. So it's going to be up to companies, I think, to, even if you're using tools like this to create content, you're still going to need some people to edit the content and at least look at it to make sure it's relevant.
Yeah.
And again, I think my overall message in this talk is try to leverage some sort of AI in everything you're doing, whether it's Chat GPT or Bard or Bing, whatever the tools are. And I think you'll start seeing vertical AI tools in everything you use. Microsoft's coming out with Copilot that's going to be on Windows, that's going to act exactly as you described. It's going to be a little pop-up personal assistant that's going to help you across your whole desktop. There are tools, they have Copilot for GitHub that helps write code, where you just have to type in exactly what you're looking for and it'll actually write the code for you. And it's good. I think the CRM systems like Salesforce, they have their own AI now where you can analyze your own data. HubSpot has one. I think you're going to start seeing, instead of Chat GPT, you're going to start seeing AI embedded in everything that you do on a daily basis. And AI has been around for a long time. I mean, they're using AI to, Amazon uses it to give you product descriptions, and Netflix uses it to give you viewing choices, Facebook, LinkedIn. I mean, they've been using AI for a long time, but I think you'll start seeing it integrated into everything you're doing on a daily basis.
Yeah. Back to the, when you were talking about who the winners and losers, well, not the losers really, but who are the big winners. And like, I remember I went, it was just a couple of weeks ago, and I was just looking at stocks, like who are the the winners, who to maybe buy stock in. And the list was exactly who you'd expect to be, other than Nvidia, who's blown up on the hardware side. It was everyone that you'd expect. It's Google, Alphabet, Meta, Microsoft, Amazon, Apple. those
Yeah.
were all who the AI winners basically are from a stock perspective. So no surprise. Maybe a couple smaller companies that were that the analysts I was reading weren't even all that confident in their stocks. As far as a couple of the other comments, as far as content and from a marketing and communication standpoint, again, I think we're all just figuring it out, including me. Like I've done a couple blog posts that I admit it was a test, completely AI generated. And a couple of those are number one in Google as we speak still, and not under real long tail phrases. So far, it's even worked. I'm not relying on it staying number one or number two in Google, but right now it's still working. I think aside from Google liking the content or not, just human readability, usability, I think marketers and salespeople have to strike the right balance. And I've been reinforcing it to our own team here all the time, is that if you rely too heavily on having ChatGPT help you write an email or help you write a LinkedIn post, that is so glaringly obvious at this point. I see LinkedIn posts filled with emojis that weren't up there 6 months ago. The little rocket ship in everybody's LinkedIn post. ChatGPT happens to like that particular emoji a lot. So I think, again, the sales and marketing people who are using it to help them communicate, definitely use it sparingly, and make sure you're putting your own human twist on it, because it's just becoming more obvious when you read something that ChatGPT wrote.
Yeah, and I think some of the big concerns for our business and our clients and everybody is that if we're seeing it and
Yep.
noticing it as individuals, the gatekeepers of the internet, which is search at this point,
Yep.
is that they're eventually going to do it too, and they're
Yep.
eventually going to discount straight. Yeah, I'm not saying that's definitely going to happen, but
Yeah. I'm
if
sure
you
it
just
will.
look at historically what's happened,
Yep.
Google and Microsoft, and maybe there's a new search engine that comes out of this. Their job is to give the best results, and
Yeah.
I think it's only a matter of time before they start discounting AI generated only content, which is why I think there is going to be the role of an editor.
Yeah.
And I think there's, going to be a huge role for the narrow language model, where the large language model is Chat GPT and Bard and Bing, where it's trained on everything. And the
Mm-hmm.
narrow language model is, like, we'll use us for an example, is trained on everything that we've ever written,
Mm-hmm.
or our videos and our podcasts and our writing and blog posts. Um, and you train these AI tools to just kind of look at all the stuff that we've done, so that when we generate new stuff, it's doing it in the right tone
Right.
that we've always exhibited. And I think that's going to be important. And people have that now. It's new still, but they're rolling it out. And I think a couple of reasons why they roll it out is, number one, for the obvious reasons that you want to generate whatever it is you're generating in your own tone and brand. But also the other reason is security.
Yeah.
If you're using these tools for whatever it is, especially if you're trying to analyze data, internal
Mm-hmm.
data or customer data, you don't
Yep.
want any of that data to become part of a training data for these large language models. So you're really going to sandbox your own data in a secure space. And these companies are rolling it out. They all have it now. Even Jasper and Writer has it, where you can upload all your content and then have it write in a specific tone based on what you've done. So I think those are going to be the real uses of this. But I do think that on the search side, on how the search engines are providing us results, I think eventually they will discount straight generated because they're going to have to cut through it. There's going to be too much content. So I think they'll either discount it or I really think the whole search experience is going to change because right now you do a search and you get the, couple of ads and the blue links and you kind of go through one by one and decide what's the right answer. And I think what's going to happen now is, and I'll just use Google for example, is, they're going to digest the content of those 10 links and give
Mm-hmm.
you an aggregation of the best answer. So you may
Yep.
not be driving through to a website. You might just stop at Google, which will hurt search, will hurt anybody who's doing, organic search. And I think it'll have an effect on paid search too. And I think that obviously that's, Google's cash cow. So they'll figure out a way around it. But, where there's change, that will impact companies, it also will create all new opportunity. You think
Yep.
back to when we started, Google didn't even exist and there
Yep.
was no paid search. So, it wasn't even thought about in the beginning. So, I think back to one of your comments you said earlier where, people are afraid. I think you should be afraid, but only afraid in a way that makes you curious and want to explore what's out there, not bury your head in the sand and hope it goes away afraid.
Yeah.
So I think a lot is going to change, and that right from the beginning of the year, I've been pushing the AI agenda internally because I want everyone on our team to leverage it and to help deliver better results for our clients.
Yeah. And that, our clients do present some distinct challenges because of the industry we work in, being healthcare and biopharma. I did a LinkedIn survey. I'm looking at my screen last week, where I asked, what should healthcare and pharma marketers be most concerned about when it comes to AI? And it was my three options were data privacy, ethical considerations, and transparency and trust. And although ethical considerations came out number one, they were pretty evenly spread among the three. And so you mentioned data privacy. And I think that, that is going to be a big concern in terms of your own business data. But obviously, when you get into stuff like patients and trying to analyze their patterns and behaviors so that you can do more personalized marketing, we've got, that's going to be a real serious consideration with regard to all this. But that's a serious consideration with regard to all technology when it comes to things like patient data. So I guess it's really no different. Are there a couple of tools in particular that you use on a regular basis more than others?
I think we kind of touched on it. I don't think I'm using any pure AI tools. I'm using ChatGPT. I use Bard. I use tools that have that are AI enabled. I'm
Yeah.
using Copilot in GitHub. I use clay.com is a really good data enrichment, a sales data enrichment platform that has not just AI, but they have a whole bunch of other enrichments that are really good. So I use that. I use Apollo. We use Apollo. Trying to think what else. I use make.com but it's not really AI enabled, but I'm using AI to help me do some of these automations.
Mm-hmm.
So because I'm not, I don't have a, production role where I'm delivering anything to our clients. I'm helping to run the business, so I'm touching a variety of
Right.
different things. So I'm not in one tool all day like Midjourney. I played with Midjourney. I got it set up. Um, I use it once in a while, but it's not something I'm using on the image, creation side. I don't do a lot of writing.
Yeah.
So while I've tested some of these writing platforms, I'm not using it on a daily basis. I think I'm using a lot of different tools that are AI enabled,
Right.
or using AI to help me leverage the tool a little bit better in the learning process.
And that's how I think, and tell me if you agree with this. Like in my mind, as I look at where individuals, not big company and IT departments, not all that, that's a different discussion, but individuals, especially in on marketing teams, and how they should think about this. To me, it's kind of bifurcated into two categories. It's the big picture, almost enterprise level tools that you should be leveraging that are AI powered. And those are the things that are going to do a lot of the things that you hear about, like analyzing big data and vast volumes of data to allow you to personalize your marketing, much more targeted. And like an individual in the marketing department isn't going to write that script and isn't going to generate the tool that analyzes big data. But enterprise software tools that are AI enabled will do that. So there's continuing to explore those tools, but also a lot of stuff like we're talking about here today is the tools that are the actual things that a user like you and I, more probably like me, who's more of a marketer who's not all that technical, and then, leveraging those tools that are just available to someone like me. I mean, you agree with that that's kind of a fair bifurcation of how this is all looking?
Yeah, and but I think the other part is that I think you just have to think of it differently. You just have to think, I think you have to think about whatever you're doing on a daily basis,
Yep.
whether you're using QuickBooks, you're in accounting, or you're using, you're a writer and you're in Word all day, or
Mm-hmm.
you're in Excel all day, or Google Sheets, or whatever program you're using, like whatever you're doing on a daily basis, you should always be thinking about how can I leverage some of this stuff that exists to do a better job. If
Yeah.
you're a writer all day, you should be leveraging a tool like Jasper or Writer that has this stuff already built in. Instead of bouncing between Word and Chat GPT, you should be in a platform where it's automatic, where it's happening all day. If you're a developer, you should be using Copilot or Amazon. I think theirs is called Whisper, that writes the code for you, or helps you or gives you hints. Like it shouldn't be jumping from the platform you live in into Chat GPT or Bard. It should be integrated. And if whatever you're using on a daily basis now doesn't have an integration, there's probably an alternative that does. That's probably better than what you're using. And you should probably test it. And you should think about every task you do and say, is there a way I can do this more efficiently and provide better results? And I think
Yeah.
if people think like that, then the answer will be yes. It's not
Right.
going to do it's not like you're going to turn on your computer and go play golf all day and come back and the
Right.
job's going to be done for you. That's not going to happen. But you can get incremental gains throughout the day in everything that you do. And I have two 20-something children who are both knowledge workers, uh, and I can't stress to them enough the same things I'm saying to you and to our audience and to the people who work for us, that if you're not leveraging
Yeah.
this stuff, if you're not leveraging these tools and learning how to use it, it would be like, coming out of college right now and not knowing how to use a browser or
Yeah.
not knowing how to use Word or Excel or email, and I think I said it earlier, but I'll say it again differently. I don't think AI is going to take your job. But what I do think will happen is somebody who's leveraging AI more than you are will.
Yep.
And I think that's the truth. Uh, but I think there's also going to be a lot of new opportunities that haven't existed in the past that are going to exist in the future because of this.
So, let's close with, if you look at the things we do for clients here, and I know, again, you're not an expert in any individual of those things, you're running the company, but you do know a lot about those things. So if you were a fortune teller and you were looking in your crystal ball right now with regard to AI, what are a couple of the things that we do for our clients? That's everything from building websites to creating content to managing paid ads, SEO, creative. Are there a couple of things that if you were to predict, you see it significantly changing how those things are done if we were to look ahead a year or two from right now?
Oh, I mean, I'll start with strategy. I think strategically for ideation, um, I think that's the first piece. I think we could probably generate way more ideas, better ideas. Um, I think data analytics. I think analyzing campaigns in paid. I think it can help in social media marketing. I think you with analyzing tone and sentiment.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I really think search is going to get completely disrupted,
Yep.
and I think we're going to need to be, right in the mix on understanding how it's changing and how we can leverage the change to our clients' advantage. I think in development, we do a lot of development. I think it's going to help us, um, deliver faster with less defects, because I
Mm-hmm.
think it'll help us with cleaner code. It'll help us with testing code. Um, I think communication with our clients. I think
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of ways that we can leverage, analyzing inbound messaging from our clients, um, to help route the right way and deliver better responses. I think one thing we didn't really touch on much that I think is going to be huge is personalization.
Mm-hmm.
I really think that with regard to visiting a website,
Yep.
I think the experience is going to be dramatically different in a couple of years than it is
Mm-hmm.
now. And I think it's
Mm-hmm.
all going to hinge on personalization and not prescribed personalization, the way we can personalize now by, predefining personas and then trying to identify you on arrival and then
Mm-hmm.
pushing you through a path. I think it'll all be done on the fly. I think there'll be data aggregators out there that will, provide the insight that we can plug into so that when you come to a site, we may not know that you're Bill Gadless, but we'll know a lot about you and be able to
Right.
deliver a custom experience, not prescribed, not have, 5 different avenues but literally having a different experience for every visitor. I think that will happen. And we'll be able to help deploy that. I think that you'll see an impact with a lot of these no code, low code tools that are coming out now, because I think the people that are developing them are going to be able to leverage some of this technology to develop at a much higher rate and get products to market much quicker with much less people and much less investment. And I think we'll be able to leverage that for our clients. What else?
Well, you touched upon it earlier in a couple of ways, and I did a video on LinkedIn on it earlier today. But I think definitely the use of chatbots and virtual assistants, becoming normal on websites.
Yeah, I think that as all these platforms get AI integrated, a lot of your experience, where a lot of it now is menu driven, even in applications that we use, like Word or Excel, it's file and the menuing system that we're used to navigate. Same thing with websites. We're used to the menuing to get around and to try to find the information. And I think it's going to move to where you're interacting with a chatbot and the chatbot is going to give you the answers. There may, in the future, a website may only be a homepage with a chatbot, and there may not be any underlying content that exists in the traditional way that we know it right now. It may be in a database somewhere, it may be stored, but you may be, have pages or experiences displayed to you that are, not pre-built, that are built on the fly. So I think that is going to happen, and I think we're going to interact totally in a different way than we are now. Now we're still browsing, and most people are going to Chat GPT, but it's all going to be integrated into everything that we do. That's what I see.
Yeah. I mean, bottom line is we all know it's going to continue to permeate more of our lives and our businesses. None of us know exactly how. I don't think we know how in 3 months, 6 months, a year, let alone 5 years. So with that, we all just need to keep learning and evolving. And I think along those lines, I think you and I should try to do this exact conversation every 3 or 6 months, because I think that's how much things will change and how rapidly. I think,
I think to that point, when I went to this conference a couple of weeks ago, I think the point that there is nobody that's saying this is what it's going to be. It is literally the beginning of, the Wild West or the Gold Rush or whatever you want to call it. It's literally, nobody has any idea where it's going to go. People have theories just like I have theories. And I'm no expert. I can only tell you, I'm getting the information from the people who are getting the information from other people. So I don't know. I'm just, based on our experience and seeing how things have happened with other technology and other advancements, I'm just, making my own predictions. But what I would say is I really look at this as more of an opportunity than anything else. And I think that if people have the attitude of, this is a huge opportunity, and not opportunity to go do something else, but an opportunity to leverage this in whatever business you're in now, or whatever it is you're doing, or whatever role you're in, I think that's the way to go. And that's the right attitude versus, having an attitude of, doomsday, or, AI is going to take over the world like, Terminator. Right. I think that could happen too. And we've all seen the reports of, you know, hacking, and it's going to allow for, more bad players, which all technology does.
Yeah.
Any advance in technology allows for bad players. So,
Yep.
but that's going to create opportunity for the people that are fighting that. So
Right.
it's just always going to be opportunity. And I think that we're in a great time. And like I said at the beginning, I mentally probably had one foot on the beach, and now
Yep.
I feel like I'm reinvigorated for the last part of my career, which, I'm a little bit older than I was 27, 28 years ago. So
It is the next industrial revolution. I mean, Bill Gates said this is the biggest thing compared to when he first saw a graphical user interface. And so he skipped over the internet in that list. So
yeah,
it is the next industrial revolution. So with that, great chat. And like I said, I think we should do this on either an every 3-month or a 6-month basis, because things are certainly going to be changing that rapidly. So
well, and I think it'll be funny. Maybe we, you know, splice in some clips for things that we said that we were totally wrong on, or we
true,
were totally right on,
true.
because we have no idea. But it's an exciting time.
Yep. All right, Brett. Thanks
All
for the
right.
chat. We'll talk
Okay.
soon.
All right. See you.